Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hello there and welcome. I understand it's the first day of spring. So what's all that snow doing outside? Not that it's a lot, but enough to kill all those beautiful blooms on all the fruit trees and magnolias. Is it magnolia? I don't know. But they're so beautiful and now they're all traumatized and dead. They don't last long in a good year, but sad. I told them when I was walking yesterday, you're gonna die tonight. I'm telling you, you're gonna die. There was nothing they could do. Richard Simmons, remember him? He, the exercise guru. I just had this memory of him that came bouncing back. I think he sexually assaulted me. I can't quite, it's a blur. Happened on the first floor of the Hearst building on Ardmore Boulevard. I was near the WTA radio studio. He was there. We were in the hallway. I can't quite remember it, but I remember being shocked. I think it was an unwanted thing. I think he kissed me. I don't know. It was something and it shocked me. But that's not what I was going to say. That's so weird. That's a memory that's just, sort of clawing out of I imagine somebody with a machete going through a deep jungle. That's where that thing came from, out of the tangles of my the jungle in my head. Oh my God. Anyway, he seemed like a nice enough guy, and back in that day, there was no such thing as sexual assault, so I just, it was not a big deal, but it just, wow. I don't even quite remember it. That's how much of not a big deal it is. Anyway, the reason I brought him up is I happened to see on Twitter today that he wrote something that said, I have to inform you I am dying, or something like that. And I thought, oh my God. And then he said something like, but we're all dying. And I thought, well, that's true. And then I couldn't see anything more about it. Oh, right, Milton, thank you. It's Tuesday, so where's Susan? Milton wants to know. She called me about 20 minutes ago, sounding like holy hell. She's sick. She's really sick. I'm sorry. And that got me all, got me talking about Richard Simmons. I think it's Richard. Whatever. I'm sorry. So Suze is not here. She's puking, if you want to know the truth. So, I mean, I looked around. It's stupid things like that, who? And then it turns out he puts another post up about an hour later, apologizing, saying, "I'm sorry that my tweet caused so much concern and was misunderstood. I'm not dying." I mean, I am dying. I meant to say we're all dying and we need to, live each day as if it were the last. But see, he just didn't quite pull off what he had intended. One thing we've all learned, although we have to relearn constantly, is that in this social media age, nobody gets, there's no nuance, there's no tone that gets picked up, there's no, sarcasm is dead. Uh, it's not even understood. You can't. Be, so there's that. And if you say I'm dying, people take it literally. People take it literally unless you're Donald Trump and you say things like, unless I'm elected, there'll be a bloodbath. We're not supposed to take, I don't know. God help us. Um, so yeah, I sort of prepared for, a show with Susan, and I had some sort of legal stuff I was hoping she'd help out with, and she ain't here. So we're not going to be able to have her uh, legal knowledge and ability to bullshit her way out of anything. Um, I will give Susan your love. Thank you. I also want to, speaking of that, I want to say that yesterday in this live chat feature I now have um, on YouTube, the somebody asked, "Where's Clarence?" And I've wondered the same thing for some time. Um, and and then I got an email from not my sister Susan, but a Susan who said, I really we miss him. Can you find out where he is? So I thought, all right. So I emailed him and asked, I told him that I'd been deputized and that there was a search party out, and just wanted to know if he was, okay. And I said, I mean, it's fine if you've decided to move on, but people are concerned and they miss you. And I have to say, I have not heard back. So the mystery continues. And if anybody does know about Clarence's whereabouts, has he been spotted in the environs of Cannonsburg, where he resides? Let us know. I'd appreciate that. You know how my brain works? It's awful. It's a torture. When I just said "let us know," do you know what happened in my head? I saw a head of lettuce. Yeah, what does that mean? I'm nuts. Let us. And I saw lettuce and I saw the word Lettuce. Let us. Ah! Wonder why I can't sleep at night. God, tortured. Um. Okay, guys. There was this wonderful little thing I thought uh, in the Sunday New York Times, just a visual, uh, a page of just pictures, and it was pictures of something that you still, and I know I still see on occasion, and one of you saying, "Oh no, your brain went into Chat GBT mode." Is that what that is? Ah, God. Okay. Yeah, I suppose that would be. Let us pray. Next time you hear that, I want you all, let us pray. I want you all to imagine salad. That's all I'm saying. So the other day I was someplace, and I am going to get back to where I was with this visual thing, these pictures in the Sunday Times, and I saw on the floor I was in I think a drugstore, or as we call them now, a pharmacy. And I looked down, and there was a thing on the floor saying something like, it was one of those things saying like "stand here," and a picture of 2 feet, you know, and I thought at the time nothing of it, but the Times piece was saying, "Do you remember?" Because it was 4 years ago that almost overnight, when you'd bravely venture out into the world, maybe because you had to, go to the bank, or do people do that? Or go to the grocery store, or go to the drug store. You'd be, this is before they told us to wear masks, I think, but you'd be scared out of your mind. We were told to stay 6 feet apart from each other. And so, helpfully, a lot of places put these things down that said things like "stand here" or "please maintain your distance." And now they are like our memories of the event, that astonishing event, that pandemic, as they sort of blur a bit, so do those what the Times called visual vestiges of the pandemic. And they say that certainly now the need for social distancing has receded, but all those markers that are now faded and or tattered serve as a reminder of that surreal time when we struggle to protect ourselves from an invisible enemy. And yeah, I took that to heart. And it's hard to imagine how we individually and collectively, how much we have been changed by that. And I think I've said that before. It's too soon to know. We certainly can identify some things, but I was thinking again about how we've gone back. I don't wear a mask anymore. I'm always sort of surprised when I see people wearing them, and I see quite a few people wearing them. Given the fact that my sister's so sick, and I have a good friend who's very ill right now with obviously something they caught, I guess it still makes sense to mask, but I happily don't. Tempting fate. But there are other things. People aren't fist bumping like they were. I see people shaking hands. I see them passing a joint, which I thought would never happen again. Okay, so what we got? Oh, I got a science thing that blew me away. Uh, so given the fact that I guess technically it's the first day of spring, um, one of the things that is going to happen this spring, despite that solar eclipse that I don't know why I'm not into that. Why don't I don't get into that. I don't, the fact that I can't really look at it, don't look. It'll burn your retinas or something. And the only way you can see it is sort of, I guess there are these glasses you can wear, right? The only time I did see a partial eclipse, I mean, things were so rudimentary back then. I had a box over a cardboard box over my head that had a little hole in it, and I stood with my back to the sun, I guess, if I'm remembering this right. Yeah, and then watched the shadow of the eclipse on the inside of the box where my head was. And I don't know. It just didn't do anything for me. Just saying. And I know a lot of people. I mean, they are traveling to see it. They are. I don't. I guess I am just. The more I do get to know myself, I am a stick in the mud. Yeah. Oh, you can look down at the reflection in a bucket of water. But see, it's not the thing itself, it's a reflection. Who cares? I sort of like if it's a total eclipse, I like the idea of standing and seeing things slowly darken as the sun, and then total darkness in the middle of the day, and then lighten up again. I like that, but uh, again, it doesn't do it for me. So I forgot what I was. Oh yeah, the other science thing, it has to do with an insect that is scheduled to emerge from the ground this spring. In fact, two, do they call them colonies? Cicadas is what to, I was going to say to which I refer. We've all been absolved of having to torture our sentences, trying not to end in a preposition, right? That's been jettisoned. Uh, E1 writes, the last eclipse I experienced here made a weird tint of light in the neighborhood. Looked like we were being invaded. Well, yeah, I just can't get into it. I don't think it's going to do much of anything here, right? I don't care. And if it's here, it'll be cloudy, right? What are the odds? It'll be cloudy. And so, okay, so this spring, and I guess the temperature of the ground has to hit 64 degrees. And when the temperature of the ground hits 64 degrees, billions of cicadas are going to rub their eyes and yawn and say, oh man, that was a really good sleep. There's one group of them who've been in the ground for 13 years. I've never understood this really. I mean, in terms of a Darwinian thing. I mean, okay, 13 years. And there's another brood that's on a 17-year cycle. But the two merge this year with both, I guess, going to wake up in as soon as the ground turns 64 degrees. And when they wake up, you know what they do. They dig their way up through the soil and they get into the trees, into the treetops, and they make an incredible racket. I mean, a racket. I'd be interested in knowing if the decibel level of a full brood of cicadas yapping at each other uh, is more higher than the decibel level of I think it's called a murder of crows meeting in the trees around my house, because when they start going, it is deafening. Eric says, I remember in the late 80s being at Raccoon State Park in the midst of the cicada jamboree. Nothing like it. So anyway, I have to tell you something that was a little bit freaky. because this is what I learned. They go up into the trees and they make their noise. That's singing to them. To me, it's like, God. And they eat a little bit, and they do what animals invariably do. They have sex. Have sex. I think it's called mating. They mate. And here's the other thing I'm going to tell you that you didn't know. An average cicada drinks, they don't drink water, they drink something called xylem, Xylem, xylem. That is a sap that's in the plants they're on and in and around, and it doesn't have a great deal of nutrition in it, xylem. So the cicadas have to drink a lot of it, and they drink 300 times their body weight a day. Dear God. It's a wonder they have time to make so much noise if they have to be drinking like that all the time. 300 times their body weight in xylem. So, okay, each cicada is taking in all of that liquid. And then we know how animals work. The liquid is digested, goes through their digestive system, and then they end up having to excrete most of it. So all of that is to tell you that cicadas have to pee a lot. And here's why that should concern you. In research that has just been done and published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, it has been found that the jets of urine that cicadas produce have a velocity of up to 3 meters per second, which, folks, is the fastest of all urine velocity in animals known. Who knew? You ever ask somebody at a party, like, and what do you do? And how you don't comprehend what they do, or what they do seems stupid or whatever, mostly incomprehensible. Can you imagine if you were somebody who said, well, I study the velocity of urine expulsion in animals? I guess somebody has to do it. So here's the thing. Cicadas, jets of urine travel faster than an elephant urinating, a horse. Now, of course, elephants and horses, the quantity is quantity they win, I'm sure. Velocity, though, is cicadas hands down. Just want to tell you. Just want to tell you. The headline in the science section of the New York Times today is, with the emergence of cicadas, things might get a little wet. So consider yourselves forewarned. Okay? So, yeah. So it's going to be a noisy spring and maybe a wet one for a different kind of a reason. Okay, guys. I why do I always do that? I blow all the good stuff right at the top, and then I'm left with horror and tribulation. What? Wow, what's going on here? I have to tell you, I am so technologically. Can you even say the word retarded anymore? Why couldn't you? I mean, it does mean I am so inept. That my email, which I have to be watching, as well as your chat, and come to think of it, I haven't looked to see if anyone. Oh, there are calls. Oh, damn it! See, there's too much going on, guys. Hang on. Let's see if the caller's still there. I'm sorry. Hello. I forgot to look. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I wanted to turn your attention to politics if I could. I have a question.
Boy. Okay.
I was wondering what you thought about the Summer Lee-Patel race. Since Patel was endorsed in the 14th ward, I think it's kind of significant.
Wait. Wait. Who was endorsed in the 14th ward? Endorsed who?
The 14th ward, which is Squirrel Hill, endorsed Patel, which is Summer Lee's opponent.
Why didn't I know that? They did?
I sent you an email. Maybe you could, check it out.
But it's, okay. I see that. Hang on. I didn't know. Did this?
I value your opinion on politics, and I wondered what you really thought. I don't know. I don't know what to think. It's going to be hard to topple an incumbent.
That is surprising for me because the 14th ward. Well, it's the 14th ward Independent Democratic Club. Whoa. They usually, I'm sure they endorse Summer Lee when she, in all her other runs.
Yeah,
right.
It actually.
Okay, yeah. Well, let me just tell you this. I'm not surprised. Yes, I am. I'm surprised because I would think that group would have stood with Summer Lee. I'm not surprised because I will not be voting for her.
You would not be voting for Summer?
No.
Yeah, I don't live in the district, but I'm not surprised either. Even though I supported her, I don't live in the district.
I supported her.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
You know what? The support goes, here's my thinking. Support goes both ways. And I supported her, but she did not support me and my community. I agree. She has been simply horrible in terms of understanding the concerns, legitimate concerns of her Jewish constituents. And she is going to lose a ton of them. Now, with Jews, they'll be all over the board. We're not a monolith politically at all. But the fact that she's losing me and the 14th Ward committee, that should be a real sign to her that it doesn't mean she's going to lose, but I don't know. I cannot vote for her. I saw
her at the State of the Union with that Palestinian cape or whatever she was wearing, and I just thought, she has no heritage from there. What is she trying to prove?
Well, she's gone full on pro-Palestinian from the river to the sea. Israel is a colonial state.
Oh my God, Hallam is going. Bethany Hallam is
and Bethany
horrible.
Hallam too. Somebody I've supported in the past. They've lost me. I'm gone.
Oh, Bethany Hallam, you should have never supported. Well, I did too in 2019, but that was a huge mistake. She's the worst.
I appreciated her work with the jail and some other things, but no, these people are ignorant and steadfast in their ignorance.
That river to the, they have no idea or understanding of what that even means.
No.
It's just.
I am trying to, if I may, I'm sorry, if I am trying to, and it's looking good, book a woman who is brilliant on this, on educating people on this issue, on what these things that are being said really mean, and on the history of the region. And she's on the West Coast, so it appears I might have to actually, for that day, change the time of the show so that she'll be awake, and I'm willing to change the time of the show to have her on because she's that good. She has a
I
Substack.
hope you.
Yeah, she has a
Very
Substack,
interesting.
and I'll be really pushing people to subscribe, although it's free. Her name is Alyssa Wald, Wald, and why am I blanking on what her Substack is called? But she is worth reading. She posts 6 times a week, and I have learned more reading her than I have reading gazillions of things. And if people are capable of having an open mind, she is an incredible source.
Well, maybe you should send her information to Hallam and Summer and the rest of these people that think they understand that, because they have no understanding, and they've jumped more, and the Pitt students and everybody else, they have no understanding.
No,
of what they're saying.
They are supremely ignorant, just mind-bogglingly ignorant. And
well, it's going to be an interesting race, I think, this time, because if Summer loses, that's going to be a huge chink to fall out of their armor, their progressive armor, so to speak,
Yeah.
and Sarah only won because Weinstein and Lamb ran against each other and canceled each other out. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But,
well, she does. I have to tell you, yeah, she does not represent me, and I will not be voting for her.
Summer or Sarah? I mean, Sarah just won. You're talking about Summer, right?
Summer Lee.
Yes. And yeah, I'm going to watch and see.
Yeah. Me too. Thank you. I appreciate the call. I'm glad I saw you were there. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Liz.
Okay, bye. Bye-bye. See, there's so many damn screens in front of me, and I got to be, yes, her Substack is called Never Alone. Alyssa, Elissa, Wald, Wald, Never Alone. She's tough, and she's smart. And like a lot of Jews right now, she is not afraid. I cannot tell you how fearful Jews are right now. Oh, speaking of that, I saw this in the New York. It was in the op-ed section. I'm just going to read a little bit of it to you. It says, the humanitarian crisis is among the world's worst. 18 million face acute hunger and famine. Nearly 8 million have been forced from their homes in what has become the world's largest internal displacement crisis. Disease has spread. What is this about, do you think? This is in today's New York Times. The largest internal displacement crisis, 18 million facing acute hunger, humanitarian crisis. I'm not talking about Gaza. I'm talking about Sudan. And this also helps illuminate the ridiculousness of the people who take to the streets and harass Jewish businesses and harass Jewish students and call for the extinction of the only Jewish state in the world, a little sliver surrounded by tons of Arab states, Muslim states. It's interesting that their outrage and their tears and their activism is so focused, and their peripheral vision so blind that they cannot see horrors happening in other places. But here's the difference: the bad guys aren't the Jews, and that's the difference. I was writing a correspondent I have who is serving life in prison. He has been there, God, over 50 years already. And we have a correspondence. And I was writing him. He wanted to know how I was feeling about all of this. And I found myself writing, and I don't know if I've said this out loud, but not minimizing the suffering of the Palestinian people. I must say that they were very lucky in one thing. They were lucky in who their perceived oppressors are. Because the left, the right, and a lot of folks in between can all agree that people love to hate Jews. I got thousands of years of history in my bag of evidence. They were lucky, those Palestinians, in not being put upon by other Arabs, although they have been. You know, Egypt, which borders Gaza, has a border with them that looks, I read somewhere today, it makes Fort Knox look like it has a white picket fence around it. You don't see rage at the Egyptians. Israel surrendered Gaza in 2005. Israelis were living in Gaza, having children and families in Gaza. And in an attempt to move peace forward, the Israelis left, and they literally had to drag their own people out. They pulled Israelis out who were screaming and yelling that this was where they lived. They took them out and said, okay, Gaza, it's yours. Do what you want. They left the infrastructure they had built in place. And you know what they did as soon as the Israelis left? They started shooting rockets into Israel. They actually pulled up water pipes to make rockets. And then they spent billions of dollars not helping their people, but building that underground, unbelievable maze of tunnels with which they sow terror. Everybody hates the Jews. Great song. It's a great song. So, sorry. The piece on Sudan was written by the American ambassador to the UN, who is just desperate. She's been over there, and she says, I tried to prepare myself for the wails of children who were sick and emaciated, but the children I saw were too weak to even cry. I saw a 6-month-old who was the size of a newborn, and a child whose ankles were swollen and whose body was blistered from severe malnourishment. It was horrific and tragically familiar. But, it's black on black, it's Arab on Arab, and so the soft-hearted, wondrous folk on the university campuses and Summer Lee can only get truly worked up if the beleaguered people are being beleaguered by Jews, who cannot be colonizers, since in order to be a colonizer, what? You got to be a country, right? Like, let's take, England, okay? They colonized the United States. Well, before it was. They colonized America. They colonized a whole bunch of other places. And they did so and then took the wealth of those places and brought it back home to their country. The Jews didn't have a country. They can't be colonizers. They, in fact, were refugees returning to their homeland. This idea that the Jews have no claim to that piece of land, I mean, beggars all reason. What? Have you read the damn Bible? The Europeans wanted the Jews out because they said, you know what they said when we lived in Europe, in our ghettos? They said, we're going to kill you. Get the hell out. Go back where you came from. You know where they came from? They came from Israel. They came from Palestine. So they went back. A lot of them. They ran back to that desert. And you know what the folks now say to them? Get the hell out of here. Go back to Europe, where you came from. Never mind that the majority of Israelis did not ever come from Europe. They came from North Africa and the Middle East. But the dumbbells like Summer Lee and the kids on the universities, they don't know that. They've never been to Israel. A lot of those IDF soldiers are black. They're the descendants of Ethiopian Jews. I'm sorry, I'm starting to scream. This is why I have to have Alyssa Wald on, because I don't think she screams. I think she speaks with a quiet authority. And that's better than me screaming at you. Okay? Just saying. Oh, back we go, back we go. And what I am saying is, if you look, one of the things Biden did yesterday, God bless him, is he signed an executive order that expands, there's barely been any, medical research into women's health issues. This has never been done before. They're actually going to start researching women's hearts, women's arthritis, women's menopause, because it hasn't been done. So that's a sign of progress. I'll give you, that's one step forward. Now let me give you the 2 steps back. Perhaps you saw this coming out of Africa. And I don't know how to pronounce that African country. Is it Gabon or Gabon? Gabon? I always aim to, say things properly, and I don't know. But apparently, at some point, the leadership there passed a law saying it was illegal to engage in genital mutilation of women. Cutting is the thing it's called. It's brutal. It deprives women of any sexual pleasure. They do it to young girls. It's obviously one of the more brutal ways men have seen fit to handle women. And this is a country in which that had been said to be illegal. But it wasn't really ever, nobody went to jail for doing it. And the people, because it was part of the culture, did keep doing it. And now the government has caught up. So I guess it was yesterday they overwhelmingly passed something that is a beginning of clawing back that law so that mutilating women's sexual organs will be perfectly legal again, as it is in so many other countries in the Middle East and in parts of Asia and in Africa. I don't see 'em marching in the streets about that. Okay, and here's the other. That was one step back. Here's the other. You know that weirdo who got elected in what was it, in Argentina? Yeah, he's a Trumpian type. He got elected, and listen to what he's decreed. This is Argentina. He issued a decree banning the use of inclusive language. Any noun endings that include the feminine are not to be used in government communications. Obviously, they can't stop people from saying them. So you would not be able to say, or neutral terms. So firefighter. No. We're going back to fireman. And chairman and congressman. So women, and there are women who serve in their legislature, women will now be called by the masculine. This is the decree. It also says in this article that his army of trolls, who does that remind you of? His army of trolls has harassed women journalists and activists with rape and death threats, which, of course, doesn't make him stand out particularly, since that is the MO of our wannabe president, Donald Trump, and Putin, and Orban, and all of the others. Hey, speaking of Trump, what a riot! What a riot! There's not a bonding company in the universe that'll secure what he has to pay. Not a one. And you know why? Because they know he ain't good for it. He ain't good for it. I mean, he says he said he had 400 million in cash, and it's growing every day, and his real estate is worth billions and billions and billions, and he said, I'll put that real estate up for collateral. And the chutzpah of a guy putting his real estate up for value in a case which found that his real estate wasn't worth anywhere near what he purported it to be. I mean, there is something too funny about that, is there not? So I guess Letitia James is going to have to start, grabbing his real estate. And it's not as if New York State's going to get rich off this, because there'll just be one creditor. All of his real estate is mortgaged to the hilt. The guy, really, his billions it's ethereal. And he might say, no, it's brick and mortar. And then you look a little closer, and it really isn't. So Trump owes all that money, which has to be paid, I think, at the end of next week. He owes all that money because he fraudulently misrepresented the value of his assets. And then he goes to these companies and he puts up those assets as collateral, and they say, no, thank you. You can't make it up. You see, apparently he's bringing Paul Manafort, the guy who was helping the Russians help Trump. He's bringing him back. A convicted felon who Trump, of course, pardoned, like he's going to pardon all those patriots who staged an insurrection at the Capitol. But he was only talking about the auto industry when he said bloodbath. Barbara's telling me that the cicadas are not predicted here in Pennsylvania. Well, so you won't have to have an umbrella if you're sitting under a tree and worried about getting hit with cicada urine jets. That's good. Now, I think it's in the southern U.S. and parts of the Midwest. I saw that it was parts of the Midwest. I just didn't know, Pennsylvania, I mean, Pittsburgh is in such a strange place geographically that, I know that people who live in the Midwest think we're in the East. I don't think we're in the East. We're neither here nor there. We're betwixt and between, is what we are. Okay, so what else I got here? Oh, here's this thing I really wanted to talk to Susan about. But Justice Breyer, who retired from the Supreme Court, has done something really, I think, wonderfully astonishing. He's written a book which essentially is a warning to the current Supreme Court, especially its newest justices, because he knows the old ones are beyond repair. But it's clear he's talking to mostly Amy Coney Bryant. Is that her name? Yeah. And but also to Kavanaugh and Gorsuch. And before his book comes out, Breyer has said, I'll just give you a few quotes if you haven't heard them. Something important is going on. The court has taken a wrong turn. And he says it's not too late to turn back. He really talks a lot about the Dobbs decision that eliminated the right to abortion. And he was on the court then. He was in the minority. And he goes on to say it is the most stunningly naive decision, hoping that legislatures will decide the question. And in an interview he did with the New York Times, he said, are they really going to allow women to die? To die on the table because they won't allow an abortion, which would save her life? I mean, really? And he says that is what's happening as a result of that decision. And then he talks about them hiding behind this originalism and textualism. And he defines, the terms are defined thusly: textualism is a way of interpreting statutes that focuses on the words, leading to all these decisions based on grammar and punctuation. Well, there's no comma there. I mean, that's what screwed up the interpretation of the Second Amendment, this textualism. And then originalism is this nitwitting idea that, as Breyer, I'll give his words, he says, first, it requires judges to be historians, a role for which they definitely may not be qualified, constantly searching historical sources for the answer, where there often isn't one. Second, it leaves no room for judges to consider the practical consequences of the constitutional rules they are propounding, which brings us back to, of course, Dobbs. Because in practice, it's killing women. Originalism is a way to hide. It doesn't take into account the ways in which our values as a society have evolved over time. And he said, if you go back to what did the founding fathers intend, you're talking about a document that was written when more than half the country was not represented in the political process. And that's where you go for the answers? It's ludicrous. So I want to thank Justice Breyer as one of the folks coming out at this consequential time to speak truth to power. Oh, calls, I see them. Oh, heavens, I'm so sorry. Are you still there? Because I'll take you. Hello? Are you there?
I'm still here.
Good for you.
I'm here.
Good. Go ahead.
Hey, this is Kurt from Swissvale,
Hey.
and I'm deviating from your topic a little bit just because I was sniffing around at something that I thought you might find interesting.
Okay.
And it was with the Laken Riley case.
Yes.
And what I was looking for really was everyone's calling this suspect an illegal alien, and I thought, half the time people are talking about illegal aliens, it's really somebody who's seeking asylum, which is perfectly legal, and
correct.
It's just one of my pet peeves that they assume everybody's illegal when a lot of them aren't.
They're not. Right.
And it turns out that he is.
Yeah.
And he has a few couple shoplifting events, and he slapped a girlfriend or something.
Not
really
a great
minor
guy.
Stuff.
No, he's probably murdered.
Not a great guy, but not no history of anything like murder. But in looking through that, I found the arrest document and the justification for his detention that was filed with the court.
Huh.
And the sum total of evidence that they have against him is that there was surveillance footage of her abduction, which seemed to show a Hispanic man in an Adidas hat. And the next morning, a policeman was driving around and saw a Hispanic man in an Adidas hat, so they arrested him.
Oh, my God.
That's it.
Are you kidding me?
It's like black man in a hoodie meets the description. That's all they have. There might be more to it that they didn't put in a court document, and they may have other suspicions they haven't documented yet. I'm not ruling that out, but based on what's there, I'll bet a nickel this guy gets released before he gets convicted.
Wow. Well, that's assuming that he can get
Georgia.
That's assuming he can get good counsel. You don't know what's available to him.
Yeah, well, I think maybe he does because his counsel's pushing for a speedy trial because they're still trying to put together a better story than what they have, I think, is what it sounds like. Their investigation is ongoing. They've just detained him. And the lawyer says, get off the, fish or cut bait here. I'll use the polite version. And I think that's why he's pushing because I don't know. I'm just, I don't know any better than anybody else, but it sure smells funny.
Okay. That's interesting information, Kurt. Thank you for that. Thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and don't forget the good news. Trump's, I forgot the guy's name, but his the guy's going to jail for contempt of Congress today.
Yeah, he what's his name? That jerk. He's in jail now. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yep.
The
contempt of Congress thing held. So.
These
hopefully Bannon's on his way.
Yeah, these malefactors come and go. So this one's going into prison. Meanwhile, Manafort, who he pardons, coming back into the fold. It's just a den of thieves, miscreants, and felons. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Peter Navarro. I just remembered it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
hey, thanks for the call.
Yeah, not a name that sticks in my head. I will confess I don't really know who he was, but he was in the orbit and he divided.
Yeah.
If any of us avoided a court subpoena or defied a court subpoena, it wouldn't take 2 years in a Supreme Court to put us in jail.
No. Are you suggesting there's not equal justice under the law?
Just maybe.
Okay. Jeez.
Ask the Hispanic guy in the Adidas hat, I guess.
Thank you. Bye,
Okay.
Kurt. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye. And I'll see if our other caller is still there. You still there? Hello?
Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
Hi, Lynn. How are you?
I'm good.
You know what? I was listening to your program. Thank you. I was listening to the program, and I think it would be so informative if you could have Alyssa Wald to come on and speak. I just think there's such a misunderstanding of what's going on, and you were saying it's ignorance, and I just think a lot of people don't know. I know because I have a lot of Jewish friends. I've grown up with them, and actually, you might know. I know you know the twins, Naomi and Doris.
Oh God, those wonderful women. Oh,
and so, weren't they? They were the best.
Oh.
And so these are the type of people that I've surrounded myself with. So they're always teaching, and I was constantly learning.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, why don't other people get it? They don't. I just don't think they understand. I don't think anyone's taken the time out to really learn about Jewish people. And it's sad because right now they're living in fear. Like the people I talk to, they're afraid. And I was like, it's just a horrible world. So if Summer Lee, if people would just understand, and if it could get out, all the information, that's what needs to be put out there. More people talking about what's going on.
Exactly.
Because I'm saddened because I'm in that community a lot, and it's just different right now. It's a different place. And I actually have people from Pittsburgh that are in New York, and the same feeling is there. Wherever you talk to someone, they're all afraid. And it's not a good thing.
No, you can't be in a group of Jews or even two Jews bumping into each other where this subject doesn't come up, because we have a history of being, singled out and then running for our lives. And anyone who thought it can't happen here, we said that about what's going on in terms of Donald Trump and our democracy. And so if Jews think that this country will continue to be a refuge for them, as it has been, they're whistling past the proverbial graveyard too. And there's a reason there's the phrase, the wandering Jew. We have been expelled from every country on earth. When we finally got our own, it becomes a pariah state immediately. It's hard. It's hard to be part of that group, but I'm proud to be. I think it's a resilient, incredible people who have given so much to this world. So much.
So true.
Thank you so much.
So if you can get her on, I hope you can.
Okay, I will. I absolutely will. And I want to thank you for reminding me of those two wonderful women. These are identical twins, folks, who were the greatest, the most fun, smart, beautiful. Oh, God.
Such a loss.
Oh, God, I miss them. Okay, you.
So do I. I love them, the two of them.
Incredible.
The best.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, you have a good day.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so here's one of the things I found out, guys, that since I control things here, I can run overtime because I'm not bothering Kevin back at City Paper, who's got other work to do. So we went about 10 minutes over our time, and that's all good. And I'll get better at checking on the calls. I have to admit, I'm getting better. I can't believe I've learned how to do this. I'm so proud. I'm a Pittsburgher, so I say proud of myself. I really, really am. All right, guys, so that is it. I thank you. I'm now, believe it or not, slowing down in my conversation because I am trying to remember how I get out of this to say goodbye. I do remember. So I'm saying goodbye, And I'll talk to you again tomorrow. And I love the fact that you're talking back. I just love it. You have a good day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.